Good afternoon. This is chapter 73, The Pigeons. In the very heart of the city was a great swath of greenery. The old park. It had rolling lawns and flower gardens and dense wooded areas. It had lakes and ponds and fountains. It had playgrounds and benches and miles of cobblestone pathways. It also had pigeons. Thousands and thousands of pigeons. The city pigeons witnessed things you wouldn't believe. Nothing shocked them. They certainly weren't shocked by robots. So when Roz marched into the middle of the park, the pigeons weren't troubled at the least. She approached a flock that was about 100 birds strong, all cooing and strutting about on the cobblestones as if they owned the place. But as Roz stomped closer and closer, the pigeons scuttled out of the way and let her pass. However, Roz didn't pass by. She stopped and glanced around, and when she saw that she was alone with the pigeons, she started speaking to them in the language of the animals. "Hello, pigeons. My name is Roz." The pigeons cocked their heads, which meant, "Is this robot actually speaking to us?" "Yes, I am actually speaking to you," continued Roz. "I'm searching for my son. He is a goose named Brightbill. Have you seen him?" For the first time in a long time, the pigeons were shocked. Several of them fluttered away from the talking robot, but most were too curious to even leave. One pigeon was so curious that she strutted out of the flock and right up to that robot. "Let me get this straight," said the curious pigeon. "Your name's Roz, and you got a son named Brightbill who's a goose?" "That is correct." "I can't believe it." The pigeon flapped her wings and turned to the others. "You guys, this is Roz from Graybeak Stories, remember?" The flock started cooing excitedly. "You have heard of Graybeak?" said Roz. "Everyone's heard of Graybeak," said the pigeon. "A while back she started telling stories about a goose whose mother was some kind of wild robot. Well, we all thought she was joking, but I guess not." "She was not joking," said Roz. "But I have lost my son, and I don't know where to find him. Perhaps Graybeak could help. Do you know where she is?" "I hate to tell you this, Roz, but Graybeak is dead." The birds all lowered their heads. "You know, life ain't easy for pigeons. We only live a few years out here if we're lucky. But we are especially sad when we lost Graybeak. She was one of the best." The others cooed in agreement. "I am sorry for your loss," said Roz. "I wish I had gotten to meet Graybeak. My son was very fond of her." The pigeon gazed up at the robot with a steely look in her eye. "Any friend of Graybeak is a friend of ours. If Brightbill's lost, we're gonna find him." She turned to the pigeons. "You heard me, flock. Hit the skies and tell every pigeon you see to start searching for a goose named Brightbill." At those words, the flock erupted into flight. Only the robot and the curious pigeon remained. "By the way, call me Strutter," said the pigeon, fluffing out her chest feathers. "It's very nice to meet you, Strutter," said the robot. "Thank you for searching for Brightbill. What can I do to help?" "You can stay by being put. I want you in this park when we return with your son. Don't hide or wander off or make us go looking for you, too." "Oh, and another thing," Strutter said. "Stay away from the park ranger robot. He spends most of his time taking care of the grounds, but he's always looking out for troublemakers." The pigeon gave a quick salute to the robot. And then she joined the search for Brightbill. And this is chapter 74, called The Sky. Hours passed and the sun set in the west. More hours passed and the eastern sky began to glow. Roz spent that whole night in the park waiting for Strutter to return with Brightbill, but there was no sign of them. In fact, there weren't any birds at the park at all. Roz couldn't let those thoughts distract her. She needed to stay alert. The park ranger robot had seen her once or twice already, and now she heard footsteps wherever she went. Was the park ranger following Roz? Had he noticed her unit number? Would he report her to the Ricos? Roz took a pathway in the woods, trying to escape the ranger's view, and that's when she heard familiar voices calling from the sky. "Where are you, Ma?" That was Brightbill. "Come on out, Roz," said Strutter. Roz turned toward the voices, but saw only leaves and branches. Brightbill and Strutter were flying somewhere above the woods. She wanted to call back to them, but the park ranger was still trailing her. Instead, she followed the sounds of their voices as they glided over the treetops. But then came a new sound, a buzzing sound. It grew louder and closer. Air started blasting down from the sky, and when Roz looked up, she saw a white, triangular airship floating above her.